The entire Senate chamber fell silent the moment Elizabeth Warren's voice cut through the air. Her tone was sharp, her eyes blazing, and her words carried the weight of a challenge no one dared to take lightly. Senators shifted uncomfortably in their chairs, aides whispered nervously, and cameras zoomed in to capture every flicker of tension. "John Kennedy," she declared, her voice echoing in the vaulted hall, "if you continue to oppose my plan, I will make sure your career pays the price." The room froze. Threats in politics weren't unheard of, but this was different. It wasn't a whisper behind closed doors. It wasn't a subtle hint delivered through back channels. It was a direct, public ultimatum aimed straight at John Kennedy, one of the most respected, sharp-witted senators in the room. John didn't flinch. He leaned back slightly in his chair, his calm demeanor a striking contrast to the storm that had just erupted before him. Everyone waited for his response. Was he shaken? Would he back down? Or would he strike back? But before we get to his reply, you have to understand something about John Kennedy. John wasn't a man born with privilege handed to him on a silver platter. He was raised in a small town where hard work and honesty weren't just values, they were survival. His father worked with his hands, his mother sacrificed daily, and John grew up believing that respect was earned, not demanded. When he eventually stepped into the world of politics, he carried those roots with him. He wasn't the loudest voice in the room, but when he spoke, people listened. Elizabeth Warren, on the other hand, was known for her fire. She was brilliant, persuasive, and relentless in pushing her vision. But with that passion often came an energy and intensity that sometimes crossed into intimidation. She was used to winning debates with sheer force, leaving opponents scrambling for footing. So when she turned her fire on Kennedy, most assumed the outcome was inevitable. The chamber held its breath as John rose slowly from his seat. He adjusted his glasses, took a small step forward, and let his eyes rest calmly on Warren. For a moment, the room felt timeless, like history was about to be written in a single sentence. Then, in that trademark Southern drawl of his, John delivered the line that no one would ever forget. "Elizabeth, I learned a long time ago that when someone threatens you, it usually means they've already lost the argument." The words landed like a thunderclap. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Some senators covered their mouths. Others exchanged wide-eyed glances. Elizabeth Warren blinked, caught off guard, the fire in her expression faltering for just a split second. Kennedy didn't raise his voice, didn't match her anger with anger. Instead, his calm confidence stripped the threat of its power. He had reminded everyone in the room and everyone watching that true strength doesn't come from intimidation, it comes from conviction. Warren tried to recover, but the damage was done. The cameras had captured it, the senators had witnessed it, and the people would remember it. What followed in the days ahead became a turning point. Kennedy's words spread far beyond the chamber, carried through news outlets, social media, and conversations in homes and workplaces across America. People admired not just his cleverness, but the courage it took to stand up with dignity instead of fear. But behind that one sentence was something even deeper. Kennedy's refusal to be shaken was a lesson to every young person watching. You don't have to shout to be heard, you don't have to threaten to be strong, and you never have to bow to intimidation when you stand firmly on truth. Elizabeth Warren, to her credit, reflected in the weeks that followed. Though she never admitted defeat, her tone toward Kennedy changed. Their clashes remained, but the direct threats disappeared. Perhaps even she recognized that Kennedy had drawn a line she couldn't cross again. And Kennedy? He continued his work, unchanged in his principles. When asked later by a reporter how he kept his cool in such moments, he smiled and said, "My mama taught me not to wrestle with pigs so you both get muddy, but the pig likes it. I'd rather stay clean." The story of that day isn't just about politics, it's about life. All of us, at some point, will face people who try to use fear against us. They'll try to corner us, to make us bend. But like John Kennedy proved in that chamber, one calm, clear sentence rooted in truth can silence even the loudest threats. And that is the power of dignity, courage, and conviction.